So I get on the subway because my friend Tom says to me, I need to talk about something. And I hadn't seen Tom in several years at that point. And Tom had been around. He'd been off to Europe and, you know, wherever. And nobody had heard from Tom. And Tom wanted to go out to dinner at this restaurant. So I hop on the subway and I get to the restaurant.
Ooh la la, come on into this restaurant. May I seat you?
Yes, you may, sir.
Thank you.
Who is that?
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. May you enjoy a fine tip, my man.
Ooh, this is quite a good tip. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. I am giving you this tip money because I just started in a little film called The Princess Bride.
What?
Inconceivable, etc.
With Carrie Elways and also Andre the Giant. Billy
Correct.
Crystal's there. And also Robin Wright Penn.
And Mandy Patinkin.
Also
Aha.
him. Oh yeah, Christopher Guest is in there as well. Quite a cast.
Wait, don't you mean Chris Sarandon?
He's there too, but Christopher Guest is the bad guy, isn't he?
Chris Sarandon.
No, Christopher Guest is in there.
No, he's not. I was in it because I'm Wallace Shawn.
Hold on. Let me check IMDb.
All right, Garcon, we're about to sit down with Tom.
Wait, no. Justin's not here yet. Justin's not here yet. You're gonna sit down to eat without Justin? He's running late. He's running late. He called me. IMDb. Christopher Guest.
Christopher Guest is not in The Princess Bride, Tom.
Princess.
Let's sit down and have dinner.
I said, wait. Okay, you can go to the bar, order a drink. I don't give a shit. You're waiting for Justin. He called. Okay, he'll be here. Okay, Christopher Guest.
Bartender, can you give
Count
me a Manhattan?
Rugen. Count fucking Rugen. The Princess Bride. Jesus Christ. Oh, here's Justin. Hey, guys.
Hey, Frank and Justin, welcome to this restaurant. Thanks for meeting me here. Under your seat, you will find a knife.
The knife that we insert into our guts, much like Yukio Mishima that I talked about the last time.
Is this place seppuku compliant?
Yeah, you just have to get somebody to cut your head off.
If you tip the maitre d' enough, he'll even hide it underneath a waterfall. So your enemies may not find it, and your honor may not be besmirched.
There are Japanese monsters who their heads fly off at night.
Excuse me, sir. Hello. I am going to be your waiter. Would you like something to drink?
Wait, who are you talking to? You said a singular sir. Which one of us? You're not. You're looking very sheepish. You're not looking any of us in the eye.
I'm talking.
You're doing a Are you Keanu Reeves?
Is that Keanu Reeves?
Well, I'm researching a role. I'm not making John Wick movies. I wait tables at this fancy restaurant.
It's actually a pretty good Keanu Reeves.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Whoa.
It actually is.
Hey, wait a minute. Here comes.
Oh, excuse me, busboy. Busboy, get a new place setting for this gentleman. There is no spoon.
See, now you're almost Steven Seagal.
Oh, what's that? Oh, it's my agent. I have to go. Bye.
You're almost Steven Seagal. Hey, baby. You missed a big man with the big balls? That's a Steven Seagal quote.
All right, so what are we doing here?
I don't know. I just can I call my friends and can't we just like hang out once in a while, guys? I mean, I don't know.
Take a read on the internet.
What, Frank?
What? Huh?
Your voice gargled in person for some reason.
Yeah, you gotta.
We just dick around on the internet.
Dick around on the interweb? No, let's talk.
Let's talk about real stuff.
Let's get real.
Here in this restaurant with all of these people.
Oh, hello. Look, there's Keanu Reeves.
Let's talk about real stuff, like the theatrical tradition that we are a part of. What experimental theater have you guys been doing lately?
I'm just gonna launch into this.
Go for it.
I'm gonna ignore that segue. This kind of counts.
What segue? We're having a conversation.
We never have non-podcast conversation. Life is a podcast.
Anything interesting happened to you?
Why, yes,
Tom?
I certainly do.
Please tell me more.
So I had a show on Friday. So I'm on the Philadelphia DIY page looking for shows. That's a real thing. I didn't change that at all. And I see this guy, and he
You
says...
have to be invited into it.
I invited you.
Did you?
I'm pretty sure.
No.
I see this guy on there, and he's like, hey, I do the booking for...
Bleep.
And I'm like...
Bleep.
That's a really cool name for a house show venue. Good for you for naming your house show venue.
Bleep.
I wonder where in West Philly it is. This'll be good. So I'm like, I'm under the impression it's a house show venue. Because they have goofy names like that, like Golden Tea House, or Sprinkle Kingdom, or The Waiting Room, or
Bleep.
or etc. Yada yada. And
The barn. The barn.
so I say yes to the show, and then it's the week of the show, and I look up where it is, and I find out that it is not a house show venue. Instead, it is a sushi restaurant, and it's not, it's not a West Philly house show venue at all. I'm like, oh shit, oh god, no, this isn't going to be as good as a house show. It's a sushi restaurant. But I'm like, you know what? You never know. I've played in small food places before, and it could be a fun time. So I go to the show, and I get there, and the other acts arrive. The first guy's pretty nice, and then another person who's playing comes, and she seems friendly, and the lady who runs the place is like, sit down, do you want anything to drink? Now, every show I've ever played at a venue that serves drinks usually give you at least one drink voucher as a performer. So I'm like, cool, I'll have this beer. And she's like, oh, and are you hungry? And I go, oh shit, what hospitality? Truth was, I wasn't hungry. I had eaten dinner. But I was like, I don't want to be rude and offend. I'm like, I'll have something very small. And she's like, how about this? It's very small. I'm like, okay, I need your credit card to start a tab. So I'm paying for my own food at this show. So I'm already in the red. And then the other acts go on, and they're a bit more amateurish than I was expecting.
Yes, amateurish.
There's some friends of the one performer, some friends of the other performer, and like a family who's eating dinner. It's a weird crowd. So I'm starting to... It's my turn. So I start putting my stuff on stage and setting up. And then suddenly the family leaves because they've finished eating and it's time to go home. All right, understandable. But then the first performer and all of his friends leave. Like half a dozen people. I'm like, oh, that sucks. So now there's like the guy running it and like 4 people who are the second performer and some of their friends. I'm like, okay, whatever. You know what? I'm paying my dues, whatever. Just be a professional, even though I paid for my own meal tonight, and fuck it, let's just do it. And in the middle of my second song, they all get up and leave. So now it's just me and the guy running it in an empty room. And then I go for a little bit longer, and then I just stop because it's ridiculous. And I'm taking all my shit down. The whole night is fucking failure. There are other more comedic details, but it makes the story way too long. And then it's a sushi restaurant, and like the sushi chef guy, this ancient Japanese guy, speaking very broken English, comes up to me and the guy who's running it, and he's like, the family in the back, the boy, it's his birthday. What? Oh, it is his birthday. Do you know happy birthday?
Jesus. Jesus Christ. You're living a Spinal Tap plot, unfortunately.
Wait, waiter, I think we can do without this.
Yeah. Take it away.
All right, sirs, I will be taking away this delicious table.
Oh, no. No, please, not the table. Then we'll just be sitting in chairs. And then what will we put our elbows on?
Each other.
You shouldn't put your elbows on the table. You're two famous New York playwrights. You should know that. We're fancy lads.
We're famous in New York? Justin.
Yes.
Did you know this?
Yes.
Oh.
In particular, you are the gnomish short man.
Wait.
Who looks like a Pixar character.
Wait. Who are you talking to? Me or Justin?
I think he's...
Justin.
Aww.
We'll get back to it. We'll get to it. But I think Justin is more the Wallace Shawn than the...
Inconceivable!
Then I keep... Andre Gregory. One of my coworkers at my job has the last name Gregory, and I keep wanting to say their name instead and fully reveal their identity.
Just completely dox them on the internet.
They're one of our only fans, so it would be a good shout out.
Yeah. Shout out to Tunes Guy too.
Yeah,
we love you.
You're cool. His name's Evan.
Hey, Evan.
Hi, Evan. We should listen to the best show sometime.
Frank, you're very insistent on this, and you're the one of us who hasn't met the guy.
I know.
Frank needs a new friend, everybody.
I do. Evan, call me.
Frank's phone number is 123-555.
555. 123 Fake Street.
1-900
Hot sex.
with Frank. Extension.
Anywho.
You want to answer that?
Fellas.
You're gonna get that, Frank?
No, I'm gonna ignore it.
Excuse me, sir. Please silence your cellular phone.
Excuse me, weirdo. Please leave us alone. We're trying to eat.
Whoa,
Yeah, please
I'm
stop
sorry.
masturbating in this fancy restaurant.
Hey, it's New York. It's part of the scenery.
Walk in here.
Fuck New York.
New York sucks. I'm sorry to Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory. New York sucks. Although Wallace Shawn probably lives in LA now.
All right, that's enough. Good job, everyone.
Great opening. Thank you for your applause, Mace.
Mace the
I'm
cat.
cat sitting for a cat named Mace, everybody. He's very mischievous.
Hello, I'm Mace the cat. I put salt
Why
in
is he
your
British?
sugar shaker. Oh, cats are British. Don't you know this, Frank?
God. For context, ladies and gentlemen, this is our second try.
This is not
The
going
same-
well, but at least we're not suicidally depressed /
Yeah.
rageful
first-
at each other.
The first time we tried to do this, Justin looked more despondent than I think I've seen him look in a very long time.
What? Hey, barman, we're talking about a movie. You can listen if you want.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, God, never mind.
Would you like some Hawaiian?
Hawaiian?
Hawaiian? To talk about the movie that you are talking about this week, which is
1981's.
My dinner with Andre! Today we're talking about 1981's My Dinner with Andre.
Hi, Mace.
There's a kitty cat on the table, and so are these two New York City. Hey, I'm walking here.
Yeah, I'm walking here trying to get a
Mace, I'm podcasting here.
cat.
Oh, look at that cat. It's a cute kitty.
He is a cute kitty.
Take a screenshot, Frank. Or
He's
I will.
literally on the keyboard. There we go.
He wandered off.
He's leaving literally in like 15 minutes, too. His real owner is picking him up.
Oh, weird.
So,
We'll be brief.
yeah.
what are we watching? What did we watch?
So it's about essentially just it's in the title. It is Wallace Shawn, a New York City playwright, as he is in real life, having a dinner that he is kind of dreading with his old professional colleague, Andre Gregory, who is also a theater person, a playwright, I guess, who has gone granola on us and just disappeared over the past 5 years.
He was out of here. He was on a spirit quest.
Much like a man on a spirit quest. And he traveled the world trying to find meaning and purpose and how he feels about art. Take it away, Frank.
So this is a film directed, it should be said, by Louis Malle, the French director, who created it as kind of like a weird sort of theater project between these two dudes. And the film consists of two distinct parts. The first being when Andre is kind of monologuing about his time away, and while you cut constantly to reaction shots of Wallace Shawn just looking at him like he's fucking crazy and full of shit. And then Wallace Shawn begins to respond in the sort of second part of the movie, and it becomes much more of a dialogue between the two characters.
Yeah, it's definitely where has Andre Gregory gone? A very long accounting for where he did go, and then sort of Wallace Shawn's kind of rebuttal, and then a little bit of give and take, although it's not really adversarial per se.
No, it's not adversarial, but like they are two people with two distinct ideas about life and art, and the film is basically a chronicling of how those ideas interact.
Yeah. And for the beginning half, Wallace Shawn is playing it very subtly and greatly and bigly of a man who doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to engage, but then he gets to the point where I can't let this shit go on anymore.
Do an impression.
And so then he starts to engage, and he butts heads a little bit, but Andre Gregory, it becomes a real conversation.
Yes. And I guess an important point is, do we think Andre Gregory is full of shit in this film?
So I kind of reject too much the idea that it is as adversarial, or that these guys represent antipodes or anything like that. I think it's I don't think it's as pointed as that, and I think it's more meta than that. And I think the content of their conversation is more important to what this is as an overall piece of work in a film. Well, no, this is the time. We won't get to it. We never do. So one big thing is sort of Andre is essentially lost. In reality, he's lost his mother. He's lost a sense of purpose. He's having a midlife crisis. I think is sort of the underlying thing. But he tries to find it in all these zany spiritual practices, trying to get something to touch him and move him, and to feel reality, to get to experience life at a real, genuine, emotionally intense space, and to not be so much operating by habit, the way they put it, to just go through life by habit. And Wallace Shawn's sort of Zen rebuttal is, I have my coffee waiting for me in the morning, and if there's nothing in it, I'm happy, and sometimes I stay in with my, referring to his real life partner and wife, Deborah Eisenberg. I stay in with Debbie. Sometimes we step out. Sometimes we take out the garbage. How could you want anything more? So Andre Gregory talks about this time where he had a christening in a Polish castle when he was doing sort of a guerrilla, weird, languageless theater experiment out in the wilderness of Poland. And he says how that is a piece of theater that can move somebody and bring them to reality. And Wallace Shawn's rebuttal is, well, we can't take everyone to the top of Mount Everest to get them to feel anything. But and that's what they're sort of arguing about. But in reality, Wallace Shawn says that the cigar shop next door should be real. If you could see the reality of it, it would blow your brains out, he says. But here, with this movie, they have this conversation, and it blows our brains out. This movie is the cigar shop. This movie is the small thing. Getting down to the reality. And I think at the beginning of the movie, they're starting out in their habit of conversation. It's very surface, it's very fake. And then you can see it in the performances. It becomes more real, it becomes more hectic and chaotic. Anyway, that's my spiel.
I think that's actually a really good read on the film. In particular, I remember there being a line where Andre Gregory says that he'd spent years trying to adapt The Little Prince, the classic French children's book, and a switch flipped in his brain, and he came to associate the book with authoritarianism and fascism. And he said that, now when I think of The Little Prince, I just envision oily muscle. So this, every time I had to, and I don't know if you've had this experience, every time I had to sell that book in Glarns and Global, I flashed back to Andre Gregory saying it made him think of fascism and oily muscle.
So there was this thing where Andre believes in the supernatural. He points to a bunch of coincidences having to do with receiving a letter from one of his Polish theater students using the word tame, which bounces to him going into a collection of absurdist magazines and seeing a series of handprints. He puts a handprint into the letter he responds to the Polish girl. And how do you pronounce the name of the author of The Little Prince?
I have no. You're the one who speaks French.
de Saint-Exupéry.
Exupéry.
Antoine de
Shit
stinks. It stinks.
Let's do a podcast about The Critic.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. We're changing formats once again. No,
Podcast about. Did anyone watch The Critic except maybe the three of us?
That is possible.
I love The Critic.
It's a great show.
A French fry in my beard.
I was never wild about him showing up on The Simpsons, though.
What?
I never really liked it when he showed up on The Simpsons, though.
I liked it. That was a good episode.
I didn't like. Oh wait, he's not Squiggly on that show. That's not a Squiggly show.
No, they animated him like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is good. We're having Simpsons references.
Yeah.
We have good.
Usually, when we start having Simpsons references, we're in a good place. Speaking of The Simpsons also references this film that we're talking about. Do you remember?
Yes.
Thirsting for a way to name the unnameable, to express the inexpressible.
Tell me more.
Witty Bon Mot in the arcade game. Do we like this film? I think that's an important thing to talk about.
Yes.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of a miracle of a film in that it's intensely watchable. Even though it's, for the most part, just two people sitting at a table.
Yeah, and I think that's down to the quality of the writing and the quality of the performances between the two principal actors. Mm-hmm. This movie would not be interesting if the shit they were talking about wasn't interesting. And they weren't conveying it in an interesting fashion.
Yeah.
To that end, I think there was a strategic and good bit of not realism in the performances.
Yes.
For instance, the entire first half of the film, where Andre Gregory just recites his Iliad without an or an or a pause or a stammer. And I think they kind of... Because at the very end of the film, it's revealed that they've stayed till an ungodly hour, and everybody's gone, and the waitstaff is just waiting to go home. Which it would seem that the film is occurring in real time, but I think that's a little nod to the fact that maybe it's not, or it's just sort of it's not real. It's not real life. It's a movie. It's movie magic, and I like that. There wasn't a gross attempt at hyper realism with it, which I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just think that some art house indie filmmakers kind of fall prey to that sometimes.
Yes, very much. Roger Ebert actually talks about that in his essay on the film when he says, there's this common misconception that it's two dudes alone talking in real time, and that there's no one else in the film. When, of course, there's a waiter, there's a bartender, and the waiter reacts to the
amazingly
weird shit they're saying. And he makes a point that, like you were saying, Tom, one of the genius things that this movie pulls off is the way it plays around with time. Because there's nothing that marks a time jump necessarily in the way that the film is made, but a time jump has clearly occurred. Because they get there at normal hours, and like you said, when they're getting ready to leave, everybody's gone. So it doesn't make a big deal about it the way that I think a contemporary filmmaker, like you were saying, would make a big deal. It would either be hyper realistic, and this would be like 24, where it takes place in quote unquote real time, or they would make a big show of the time jumps.
I'm also imagining they would script in with stage director or whatever direction, struggle with your napkin for 2.3 seconds and then mispronounce this word and say it again, or they would, or improvise it 17 times until it has the appropriate amount of real life grit.
Yeah, it'd be like a Mumblecore movie, and those movies fucking suck.
It's true.
They're terrible.
Should I watch The Comfy Chair?
Yes, we should do The Comfy Chair on the show.
Oh God,
we really should. It's we should do it.
Fuck you, Duplass Brothers.
I can envision we're gonna fucking do it. I fucking hate the Duplass Brothers. I hate them so much.
I don't think I hate them as much as you, but I do hate them.
They fucking suck.
The league is better than It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That is factually incorrect. I'm going to give you a fucking wedgie.
Yeah, well, you can eat my shorts.
I forget that the league. Exists.
I'm
sometimes.
having a cow, man.
Cowabunga.
Yeah, the league, that thing that left everyone's shared memory. Meanwhile, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is still beloved by millions of people because Rob McElhenney just had catch with Chase Utley.
That's
because
true.
Chase Utley retired the other day.
Guys, I hate to break it to you, but It's Always Sunny stopped being a nationally broadcast show. If
There's only broadcast around here?
Yeah. You're just letting us believe that the whole rest of the country knows or cares about what happens in Philadelphia.
As evidenced by our rising crime rates and the fact that a oil refinery just literally exploded and no one gives a shit.
Like the fires of Mordor.
I somehow didn't hear it.
Or see it.
Which is incredible to me.
Yeah, have fun.
Because I live in South Philadelphia, which is where that oil refinery is. I didn't hear a goddamn thing.
You live in South-ish Philadelphia.
Yeah, I live in Queen Village adjacent South Philadelphia.
Yeah. That's way down there by the Platte Bridge. Yeah, we're from where we're from.
It's still a giant explosion.
It was absurdly terrifying.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what we're talking about, look it up. It was fucking insane.
We'll put a picture in the camera roll on Instagram. Anyway, do you have anything else to say about this film?
Buongiorno. Anyway, so we like this movie?
Yeah, it's a good movie. Let's fucking get it over with.
This was a much better discussion than the one that we originally tried to do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to hear three grown-ass men, just become despondent over failure to be able to talk about My Dinner with Andre, we can pepper in you some clips if Tom deems it necessary to do so. It was pretty bad.
I also think we should start a Patreon just to be able to release the failed attempt to our Patreon supporters.
Yeah, because we haven't had that many,
This is our first straight up and down Lost episode. We've joked about it.
We've joked about it, but we released them anyway. And they turned out pretty good for the most part. That one, if you hear parts of it, you will get why it just can never happen. Unless you pay us. Evan from Tunes. Pay us money. Tom pays you money all the time. Well, he pays the company that employs you, and then they pay you pittances, shit wages. So use the pittances that you make working for a music store to pay us.
You're making it weird, Frank. You're making it really weird. He is not somebody who I know.
Oh, okay.
He is a stranger. Who we are repeatedly calling out.
By name.
By his name and place of employment.
Hey, you brought up the place of employment first.
Anyway. Just one quick thing about this film, which is that I love its soundtrack. And
it's great.
The entirety of the soundtrack is a single playing of 1898's Gymnopédie, or whatever how you pronounce that in French, number 1 by Eric Satie. This sentimental piano piece that we can splice in because nobody owns a copyright. It's a classical piece of music.
All right. Bland, bland, da, 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 ba, da, da, da.
You know what my favorite piece of classical music is?
What's that? Baby
Star
Elephant
Wars.
March.
The Star Wars soundtrack. It's the only classical music I listen to is movie soundtracks. That's not true.
Well,
I like Eric Satie quite a bit.
he rips off Stravinsky pretty hard, so I guess that counts. Yeah, and I've learned it on the piano, and I've been having experiences that make me want to listen to it, and I can't stop thinking about it, and it's beautiful.
We've talked about this before, but there is something weirdly magical about this era of New York.
Oh yeah, this slots perfectly into all that jazz era, which was only 2 years previous, 1979. Yeah, that sort of before while Times Square still had porn theaters, but you could feel
Giuliani.
But you could feel Stop and Frisk coming.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I think what we like about it is it's New York pre-fascism.
Here's my thing about it is I don't have any interest in this era of New York, but it tells you something that so many of the fucking movies we've covered on this show take place in that New York. And I love all of those movies, but it was such a thing.
Not to mention, I think it may have just been a singular kind of happening, a vortex in history, because it's also the stellar nursery of sort of the salvation of music, with the sort of the double renaissance of American art music happening there with the CBGB Bowery scene. It may have just been. I don't know. It's just the American cultural nursery.
It was just a boiling cesspool that some single-cell organisms fucked in, and then a lizard walked out. That's how evolution works, right?
And now we have Pizza
Kind
Rat.
of.
And now we have Pizza Rat.
Pizza Rat and broken subway system.
I live in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Where we live in South Jersey.
Yeah, South Jersey.
There are alpacas.
Down
And
here.
chickens.
Chocobos.
Excuse me, waiter? Could I get a refill on this coffee?
Wine? You would like some more wine, sir?
No wine. Hey, whoa. Just a little bit of coffee, please.
We do not have coffee.
Guys, I think we should just go get some coffee.
Fine. Let's get out of blow this popsicle stand.
And take an aeroplane. All the way to Seattle, Washington, where...
Hey, wait a second. Hey, guys. Oh, my God. Do you see this happening? We just walked into Cafe Nervosa to get some coffees, and look over there. I think I see Dr. Frasier Crane trying to get a table with his brother to talk to his brother. But whoa, who's coming in right now? It looks like it's Roz Doyle, and they make some sex talk about her, and it's a little uncomfortable. And then she goes away, and then here comes the daddy and the nursey, and they want to get a seat, but it's raining and it's pouring, and they want something to eat, but they leave, and then Frasier and Niles get a chair, and they talk about if not Frasier's happy, but he says yes when Niles isn't there. Frasier, Season 1, episode last one of the season, My Coffee with Niles. My coffee with Niles, my friend.
Justin's slow regression into a childhood state.
Like tantric sex, we have been teasing Justin for like a week now because he didn't get to go off at our last attempt, our failed Lost episode, and so he's just been blue balling his explosion of exuberance for a week now.
He's just been edging like Sting.
And now the room has stalactites of Justin essence.
Ropes and ropes of semen.
Jesus Christ. I was thinking about telling a coworker who's like a young but cool coworker at the library about this show.
Uncomfortable transition,
but I am. But based on that, I can never tell anybody about this show.
Frank was quoting.
This is going to be the episode I recommend people listen to.
Frank was quoting E.L. Dr. O's Ragtime.
Was I? I thought I was quoting Bill Hicks.
You're doing both. It's part of life. It's where life comes from.
Hey,
I've never read that book. I always wanted to.
It's got a very similar. I think it's arcs and arcs of Chisholm. I think it's the line.
guys, look at where we started. Now we're here.
Hello, sir. Would you like some coffee?
Oh,
I moved here from New York just 2 seconds ago.
Shut up. What do we think of this episode?
Guys, shut the fuck up for a second. Look at how far we've come. We started as a lowly little butt of a podcast in September of last year, and now, almost a full fucking year later, we get to the end of the first season of Frasier. It's not a long season. It's like 21 episodes, and it took us like 10 months.
That's a lie. It's only been 9 months.
But we did it! This is the last episode of Frasier Season 1, and boy, is it a good one.
Is it?
Whoa.
Yeah, I like it. I adore this episode. I like bottle episodes, especially in familiar places. And this movie, unlike me praising My Dinner with Andre for not having pseudo-realism written into it, this one does, but I appreciate it because it's a sitcom and you never get that. So like during conversations, you have Niles getting up and wandering at a leisurely pace and thinking before saying a thing. You get sort of more pregnant pauses in the conversation, thoughtful moments. I really enjoyed it. It's a little moment with the characters. I'm a big old baby, so I enjoyed it.
So I don't think it's a great. I know why they did this episode the way that they did it, because it's a wrap up. It's a season wrap up.
Yes.
They're already taking apart the set of his apartment.
You can't just have the episode be Frasier and Niles talking, because you have to have all of the characters have something to do, which is why they all sort of like sitcom walk in and out of Cafe Nervosa, and they've all got problems and blah, blah, blah. And like you said, they have very uncomfortable sex conversations with Roz Doyle, which I'm sure Justin loved, because that's basically the content of Justin's sex stream.
She is comely in a back alley sort of way. Roz? Yeah, she's very attractive. You ever think about you two, well, Roz and me? Oh, come on. No. You've never fantasized about stealing away to some cheap little motel with her? Oh, well, I'm a man with normal urges. And she does have a silk blouse that falls open a bit when she leans over the cart rack. But, mixing work with romance. I don't know, is it ever worth it? Don't ask me, you're the one that looked down her blouse.
If you pay us, if you subscribe to our non-existent Patreon, I will go into all of the details of my sex streak.
Oh, I actually might contribute to my own Patreon just to hear that. But it's a little too sitcom-y for a show that I think does better. Like it always does a little bit more.
So you're saying that this was an episode attempting to copy My Dinner with Andre, so it was trying to be quintessentially unsitcom-y, but they can't do that totally because it is a sitcom, so they reintroduced sitcom elements, and the way they did that was too ham-fistedly sitcom-y. Am I reading you?
Yes, yeah.
I can kind of go with that.
I do get where you're coming from. I think you're dumb, but I respect your stupid opinion.
What is funny in this episode?
I won't say
I'll tell you.
I'll say this, that what this episode serves as, and why I think it's super non-sitcom-y, is this episode serves the role of a clip show. The underlying purpose of a clip show. Not necessarily showing you highlights of funniness, but... Yeah. But as an emotional look at where we've come.
And do you guys know, like, was it a sure thing that season 2 was happening? Could this have functioned as the end of Frasier kind of a thing if it didn't get picked up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They wrapped it up in a bow.
Yeah.
Well, without resolving anybody's character arc, but...
But, like, was there a possibility? Do you know if there was a possibility that there was no season 2?
I don't know about that.
I don't know the history, but I'm lost in the alternate universe where there was only one season and it was this sort of beguiling little vignette of a show.
Well, let's hold off on that for... Do we have anything else to say about this episode?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
It's not funny and it's dumb.
No, shut up, Frank. It is funny. It has one of the best spit takes ever. Genuinely amazing. David Hyde Pierce spit take, where Frasier deflects about being asked if he's happy by point blank asking Niles if he's in love with Daphne.
Pick a new subject, something light and frothy. I agree. Are you in love with Daphne? That's a little frothier than I had in mind.
Anytime David Hyde Pierce does physical comedy, I'm there.
You've got the bit where Frasier keeps reordering his drink and he keeps rejecting it for this and that, and the waitstaff becoming increasingly frustrated with him.
Excuse me, what about mine?
We've got a team of specialists working on it.
By the way, I think season 1 might be the end. Well, no, that's not true. But the waitstaff at Cafe Nervosa are not nearly as important in later seasons.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, besides a few key things.
There's no, like, Gunter character.
Exactly, yeah. Which is
did anybody
weird.
famous, like, have a brief cameo as a Cafe Nervosa barista? Am I making that up?
No,
like,
but
Elvis Costello was a musician at Cafe Nervosa for an episode.
Okay.
But that is very kind of weird, and, like, I applaud them for it, that they've built into the show a set where a character could live, and they never do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because I think that's because they know themselves. They know they tried with the sort of the apartment building lackey, and then they get rid of them. But it's like, these are aristocratic assholes who go to a cafe. They're not gonna, like, to introduce this kind of salt of the earth, young, zany, hip character would be just an unrealistic kind of trying to reach all people. It would have been really transparent, and it would have fucking ruined the show.
Though I do applaud them for, at least throughout the first season, having consistency in the characters, the casting of the employees of Cafe Nervosa. It doesn't feel like a weird thing that there's a new person every time.
No. Tom?
Yes?
You've been to Seattle.
Yes.
Is Cafe Nervosa real?
Alas, no. I would have found it if it were. They give you a pretty good idea of where it is, just through context clues. Seattle's weird. It's only at its like downtown center city. It's only about like 4 or 5 blocks across, and they say like third or like the Christmas episode is Miracle on 3rd or 4th Street, and in this one they reference, I walked up and down 3rd Street. Well, Eddie already smelled everything on 3rd Street. We're on 4th, so you kind of get the sense that from the view from Frasier's apartment, that's in Queen Anne, which is, about like 20 minutes out from downtown. And this place seems to be in the built-up downtown hub where the radio station would be, which is pretty close to where a really cool real-life radio station is, KEXP, which has a really beautiful building, the famous public radio station known for its rock and roll...
Indie rock
sort of
YouTube videos.
Mecca.
Is Kenny the manager at KEXP?
He is. They keep him in a cage outside.
Oh, Kenny.
No, he's a gimp.
Oh, no.
He likes it.
Poor Kenny.
Anyway.
We'll get to Kenny.
Well, anyway. Okay. What's happening?
I was asking if Cafe Nervosa was real. Is Ken Winston also real? Tom, is Frasier real? When you went to Seattle, was Kelsey Grammer there in a double-breasted suit?
Yes, he was. He greets you at the monorail, which is the only way in or out. Okay.
So how do we feel about the season as a whole?
I think this season is one of the finest first seasons of any sitcom ever. I was surprised. This is my first time watching the show in order. And I was surprised at how fairly quickly they get to where they're going to be for at least a good 5 seasons. The last few seasons get a little weird, as any sitcom does when they're on the air for 11 years. But they get there fairly quickly. There's still some weirdness, which I do think gets better with Niles and the Niles and Daphne thing. I think it gets a little less gross, but I could be completely wrong.
It doesn't. It's weird. I feel like it doesn't start to get less gross until they actually start to get married, which is a little bad.
Well, that's the thing I liked about this last episode. Last episode, which is that they kind of attack it head on, and Frasier asks him point blank, and he, which might be like a cop-out, but he reveals that he feels a little powerless in the situation. He feels highly infatuated in a way he doesn't seem to have too much of a handle on. Which is, a cop-out bullshit. Control yourself, dick.
Yeah, you're a fucking adult. Stop getting a boner and going cross-eyed every time she bends over in front of you. So I totally agree with Justin. First seasons of sitcoms are usually, first seasons of anything are usually pretty rough. But sitcoms in particular, when you have a show that is trying to be funny in a consistent manner, it takes a while for that comedic voice to congeal. I would say 30 Rock is pretty good in its first season, but Seinfeld's first season is bad.
Yeah.
The American Office, I argue, is bad the whole way through, but the first season of The American Office is particularly bad.
The first season of Parks and Recreation is unrecognizably
different.
Bad.
Yeah, because it was trying to be The Office.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a perfect first season, as perfect as you can get.
It had a head start in that Frasier Crane was a long-established character. Now, granted, Frasier is vastly different from Cheers Frasier, and vastly different again from the cartoonishly villainous Wings Frasier.
Yeah, which we'll never get to.
We'll get to it.
Watch that episode of Wings sometime.
It's pretty crazy.
It's very crazy.
And it's weird because that is a shared Cheers universe show. Like, that is canon, that show takes place in the Cheers universe. And he is, like, a fucking Lex Luthor of the Cheers universe in that episode. It's Planes, Trains, and Passing Cranes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's only on YouTube. I don't think Wings is streaming anywhere.
It was a YouTube original. It was a fan video.
Like that fucking. Have you guys seen this? Have you guys seen this shit? That Karate Kid sequel show.
Oh yeah. God,
I heard it's
Cobra
YouTube
Kai.
original.
I heard it's good.
I don't fucking care. People who say it's good are just easily entertained. It looks like dog shit.
So let me ask you guys. Let me ask you, in the spirit of the episode, Frank, are you happy?
No. Donald Trump is president. Who's happy? The planet is boiling. Donald Trump is president, and we're about to go to war with Iran. Why would any conceivable person on this earth be happy? Are you fucking kidding me?
Inconceivable.
Oh god.
The human race is currently in a death drive. Like, we're all going down, folks. This is it. Why would anyone be happy?